Welcome to my basement, everybody. We have a phenomenal show for you guys today. We are talking about one of my favorite video games of all time, but it's back. It's Prince of Persia, Sands of Time. And we've got the game director, Pierre-Sylvain Gires. I hope I did all right with that.
Hello, yes, Pierre-Sylvain Gires. I'm very pleased to see you tonight, guys.
Yeah, this is awesome. And we've got Yuri Lowenthal, who is the voice of the Prince. And I was super excited to receive this news. Ubisoft discreetly sent me a little, are you interested in coming to a pre-buzz event thing? And I'm like, yes, I am. Absolutely. So I'm fired up. And, clearly this is an important game for Ubisoft. Why don't we start with you, Pierre? Why is this game so valuable and so beloved by fans around the world? And why was it important for Ubisoft to remake it?
Well, Victor, Prince of Persia Sands of Time was a huge hit back at this time, like 15 years ago. And I think it was the first game of its kind. It really started a new gender for the gaming industry. And it's a masterpiece. And honestly, it was my first game I played. And that's what made me fall in love with the industry. It's a piece of art because like from the music to the visuals, but also like the gameplay, it's like the three pillars with the combat, the parkour, and the puzzle was the first of its kind and definitely like started a new gender for the industry. So what else than Prince of Persia Sands of Time to be the first Ubisoft remake?
And that's really cool news, too. This is the first time that Ubisoft is remaking something, but it's remaking something with the original actor that played the role. Yuri, this must be surreal for you because I know that the first Prince of Persia Sands of Time experience for you was that your first leading role in a video game?
Yeah. And so, I mean, nobody's more surprised than me that they would revisit it so many years later, and that they would ask me to come back so many years later. I'll never be able to show the proper gratitude, I'm sure, to Pierre and the team at Ubisoft. It's unparalleled in my career that I would get to do this. And it is such a gift to return to a character that I love so much and is so close to my heart all these many years later. So I'm both excited and terrified about the whole experience.
Can you remember sort of creating this character with the Ubisoft artists and animators and stuff? Can you remember what you guys were going through to kind of get into the role? And then how much of that was muscle memory to kind of, recraft it again for the remake?
Well, the character has never left me. I didn't have to go, digging to find him because I've loved him for so many years. But early on, I didn't get to work with animators and designers. I was just working with Jordan Mechner in a room. We didn't do any performance capture or motion capture because that just wasn't done so much back then, or at least not at the level that we can do it today. So it was working in close concert with Jordan and a little bit with Joanna Wasik, who played Farah for that first game, and to get to come back so many years later with all the sort of the developments that we've had and the tech, and to get to come back and do performance capture and for these cinematics that we never got to do before, with a new actress playing Farah, who brings her own stamp and she's so wonderful and so powerful in this role. It was a game changer for me. I literally to get to come back and do it over again, but it's basically to rewind time. I mean, if you pick any game to do this to come back so many years to see if we could get it better, you couldn't have chosen a better game just because of that mechanic alone. But
that's so rad. It's like you guys did the radio drama, and now you're doing the stage play of the story. That's so cool.
Exactly, and it's just naturally, I think we didn't change a lot about the game, but the game is brand new in a way because we have so many of these new elements.
That's fantastic. Now, Pierre, you're making the game in India. You're making it in Pune and Mumbai, and there's Indian elements in the story of the game. Are those new to the game? I can't remember. I didn't have time to play the game again. But are you adding and embellishing to the original?
Of course, Victor. As you mentioned, the game is developed in India, both in studio in Pune and in Mumbai. And the first part of the game is actually taking place in the Maharaja Palace, which is in India. And that's where actually Farah, the Indian princess, appeared for the first time. And it was an honor, you can imagine, for the team and all the artists in India to actually bring up realism and bring a little bit of their culture into the game. We actually focused a lot on the architecture, the materials, and the color, because like it was very close to the heart of the artist to reflect the Indian lighting, the Indian like art. But we also focus on the second part of the game, which is like taking place in Azad, which is in Persia. So it was very interesting to work on the contrast between those two geographic points, where India is very wet and luxurious, while Persia is very dry and has a very specific type of art for the carpet, for the mosaic, but also in terms of lighting, like we really had a blast working on this game.
I was at Ubisoft Montreal interviewing the developers making the game, and it was really like a turning point for the company because, you know, in addition to Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, there was Splinter Cell, and there were several other massive games that were coming to market. But I distinctly remember interviewing Raphael Lacoste, who was the art director on the game, and he mentioned that a lot of the environments were influenced by paintings of the Arabian kind of culture and life. So it was interpreted, and it just blew my mind that so much thought and love and care went into the art design. And I'm wondering how much of that your teams are tapping into, or is it trying to again reinterpret it and be fresh with the way that you're presenting this again?
So when we started the pre-production of this remake, we actually get our hands on the original artwork from the team 15 years back. So that was amazing to look at their research, and they had at that time like some technical constraints, you know, about the engine. And nowadays, as we use the Unreal Engine, which has been developed for Assassin's Creed Origins, like the power of those engines right now are incredible. And we really focus on the fantasy of that game. We don't want to be like hyper realistic because we wanted this 1001 night feeling that are making Sands of Time so unique. So that was also one of our main focus with our artistic director and all the art team right now, working on the VFX, working on the wetness, working on all the materials, has been like an incredible adventure for the past 2 years.
That's awesome. Yuri, you know, doing the performance capture and all that, did you have to practice wall running? Did you have to kind of get that down? Did you avoid blades?
Too dangerous at my age. As much as I wanted to do that, they're highly skilled people who helped create this performance with me. You know, I had a great stunt team in Montreal where we were recording at Studio Alice, and Robert Moncalm was one of my primary combat double, and he made me look really good, as did the rest of the team. But it was just such a joy to be on the stage with other actors, you know, doing it as a play, you know, in a way that we didn't get to do it before.
That's so cool.
But no wall running for me. Thank you.
How much has it changed for you? You know, like obviously the video game industry has just grown in prominence and has given you I mean, if you look down your credit list, it's amazing how many seminal video game titles you've been in. And congratulations on Spider-Man. We all love what you did with Spider-Man.
Thank you.
But how much has it all changed for you? You know, because you could really reflect on it, you know, the early days of probably being in a sound booth hidden away somewhere to this being a massive production with maybe a dozen or so people or more on a big stage. Yeah,
it's really exciting. But I mean, you know, the work that I have to do doesn't change drastically, but it opens up, you know, sort of new tools and new ways for me to do it. When I'm, you know, just behind a microphone and you can't see my face or my body, I'm flexing a different muscle. And in the way that we got to do this, I got to flex all my muscles, which is, you know, I don't always get to do, and was super exciting and, you know, terrifying to revisit something that is already so beloved, even though it was me going back. I felt the potential to mess it all up. So, but I knew that the joy and the love for the game that the team in Mumbai and Pune and Pierre, the whole team, and at Studio Alice, everybody shared a love for that game, and I knew that they were not gonna let me mess it up. So it was sort of this comforting net there the whole time, and it was just the 2 weeks or so that we worked on shooting all the cinematics and bringing that to life in a different way. Those are some of my fondest memories in this business, to be honest.
That's awesome. Yeah, I do remember that back then there was a real dependency on hand animating everything. Even though it looked like it was motion capture, it was all hand animated, and all the artists, understandably so, were incredibly proud of what they were able to do, all the animators and artists. But things are different now. And Pierre, you have to kind of coordinate and clearly storytelling and performance is incredibly important in modern gaming, and hence working with one of the best actors in the business with this stuff. Just sorry for all the buttering you up there, Yuri, but you are.
Yeah.
Victor, we've known each other a long time. It's
but what other considerations do you have to make for the modern player out there? And I know that one of the major questions about this game is it going to stay true to the single player roots? Is it a like a full story based thing, or are you adding elements to add purchasable items and things like that afterwards? Because there's a lot of changes have happened in the video game industry since the first Prince of Persia: Sands of Time.
Yeah, we stayed true to the original design because Prince of Persia Sands of Time is a beautiful game, and we wanted to respect first the narration because the story between the prince and the princess is so important and so iconic of this game and of the beauty that we stick to the original script. We found a few lines that were not used, and we did some tweak with the talent of Yuri, but also Supender. We wanted to give some liberty for the actor actually during the cinematic to make it real. So we have the natural flow of the cinematic, and in terms of gameplay, we stayed true to the original game as well because it was perfectly balanced. It was the first of its kind, with the combat, the puzzle, the parkour. So we really wanted to respect the original design, but to make it accurate for the new players, we did revisit the 3 Cs to actually provide a smooth experience and the complete velocity and responsiveness for the player. So mainly we reworked on the full camera to have a seamless experience between the cinematic and the gameplay, but also really revisited the combat because the combat needed some tweak to actually fulfill the expectation of the actual players.
Very cool. Very cool. So this is the reemergence of Prince of Persia, and are you guys already planning more? Are you able to tease us with more? We all want to play this, but we've also been missing the Prince for a long time. This is the beginning.
Honestly, I'm just basking in the what we've gotten to do, which I never thought would ever happen. So I haven't even really gotten a chance to think about anything other than this.
Well, on our part, Victor, we really focus on delivering the best experience possible for the player. They've been asking for Prince of Persia to come back for years, and we are very actually pleased to actually give them the first Ubisoft remake, and what else than Prince of Persia Sands of Time to actually fulfill the expectation.
That's awesome. Did you work with Jordan Mechner at all on the remake? Was he consulted or brought in for this one?
So, Jordan, as you know, is the father of the prince, and during the pre-production, we of course get in touch with Jordan because we wanted to have his input. We wanted to also know what was the original intention, to see if he wanted to adjust something, if there was some hiccup that we wanted us to actually fix. So we got in touch with Jordan, but the Indian studio had the complete ownership of this first remake. And I'm pleased to tell you that Jordan put his hands on the game last week and had the chance to play it, and he was very pleased with the output.
Amazing.
And I, of course, Jordan and I have been friends since that first game. And so I of course, couldn't help but touch base with him as we were doing the new stuff. I would occasionally, just get on the phone with him and be like, oh my God, you can't believe what we're doing. and he was, that sort of kept him excited throughout the whole experience as well, the process.
Yuri, you've had the chance to work with so many different studios on so many different projects, and I know that the industry has and continues to be in sort of kind of self-defining itself and kind of finding its path on how production is handled, and things can be a little bit run a bit differently with one studio compared to another. Is there a bit more homogeny in the way that production sort of works from your perspective, or is there a different vibe when you make a Ubisoft game than when you work on an Insomniac game?
That's a great question, Victor. Especially with everything changing, in the last 6 months, there have been major changes to the way we do things.
Of course, yeah. It's all out of basements now.
Exactly. It's everybody's basement. I'm broadcasting from my basement. I record in my basement. But yeah, I would say each, working with different devs and different companies do come with different feels and different, the way things are done. And so it is fun getting to work with a lot of different people because you get a lot of different experiences. And having worked on this game, the way I worked on this game, the first time we did it back in, 15 plus years ago, was even stood apart from other games I'd worked on and would work on after that because of the care that, Jordan was the head of the dragon on that one. Like, he was in the room, he was directing, he was writing, he was allowed the time to make, to finesse things when we were working on it together, and to really take that time to get exactly what the game needed. And you don't always have that luxury with games. And so
it set an incredibly high bar too, didn't it? That was part of the challenge with that game.
Absolutely. Yeah. And coming back to it, I was a little worried that we wouldn't have the same care, and that fear was immediately wiped away. The time and the love and the care that I could tell was going into it reminded me of that first time around, only with so many more tools at our disposal, and so many more days to create that. So
that's wonderful.
It was great.
Pierre, this is an incredibly important game for your Indian studios. And, one of the things that I admire so much about Ubisoft is it's almost impossible to understand the totality of this company because you guys have studios everywhere. It's ridiculous. But talk to me a little bit about, what this means for your teams in India.
Well, I joined Ubisoft India about 6 to 7 years ago. I first came for 6 months. And I fell in love with the country, but mainly with the studio and all the people here, because their energy is absolutely incredible. They have a lot of talent and they are craving to actually produce more game. And of course, Prince of Persia Sands of Time Remake is a huge milestone for our studios, because we want to prove the world that we are going to deliver an amazing game and with very talented people. And we can only thank Ubisoft for their support, because we had the support from other studios, from Montreal, from Kiev, from all the studios around the world. They brought us some experience. They also help us to understand the tools. And it was a huge challenge for the studio. And we are very pleased after 2 years of effort to actually bring you this amazing remake.
I can't wait, you guys. Gave the last go round on this a 10 out of 10 all those years ago. And I'm so fired up. I am so excited. So congratulations, you two. And we have to wait until early 2021, but I'm sure it will be
January
worth the wait.
21. I think it's January 21, 2021.
Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. It's tomorrow, guys.
Yes.
Right. It's basically tomorrow.
Just a couple sleeps. Yeah. Time has no meaning anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you both, gentlemen. And congratulations. That was Yuri and Pierre talking about Prince of Persia, Sands of Time, the remake. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you soon. And until then, play forever.